Isaiah 22 is about the Valley of Vision. And Eliakim, that's the person that God he laid the key of David on him, and then he fastened him like a nail in a sure place. At the beginning of the chapter, in the Valley of Vision, those men that get slain clearly says it at the very beginning of the chapter. You can read it yourself. Isaiah chapter 22. That those men were slain not by a sword, not by war, however it says. It doesn't say anything else other than not by like sword, like not by the war, not by actual getting sliced with a sword. Time and time again, anytime I listen or read, I'm just seeing it more and more that the Bible's just written. It's written as a figure of speech, and we're just trying to interpret it in our language 2,000 years later. Can you, I mean, come on, the way people talk from generation to generation, 4 generations ago, they didn't talk like us. So when you're fastened at like a nail in a sure place, what does that? Eliakim, he's the one that God is going to fasten like a nail in a sure place. I know somebody else that got fastened with 3 nails in a sure place. He surely got nailed to the cross, right through his palms of his hands and both of his feet. And that's what they did. And we're getting close to Trump, Netanyahu. I believe that, like, there's a long time where I was confused about these 2 witnesses. It's still a little bit, like, because the reason being is, when I'm reading the Bible and I'm looking for the true meaning of the verse, I have to remember that if I want to know what the world is doing, like what the world script is doing, I have to remember that they are playing out the literal end of what the majority of the world will look at and say, oh, okay, there's the 2 witnesses. Look, oh my God, Trump and Netanyahu, they both died or got locked up, or they got out 3 days later, 3.5 days later, or something like that. What would 3.5 days? Well, that would be 84 hours later, right? Yeah. So then when we get close to them, when we get close to the 3.5 day period, keep your eye out for the number 84, the number 8, the number 4. You'll just see it wherever and anywhere. It'll be eight packages and 4 detonators. 8 years and 4 months of something happening somewhere or another. So you have obviously Netanyahu is over in Jerusalem, so he definitely has to play the Messiah role, just like Trump was playing Messiah role. But who are the 2 witnesses? Well, here's what I've come to the conclusion of. It's going to be many dispositions. Like, two witnesses will be played out as Trump and Netanyahu, but then I always thought the two witnesses was witnessing to Christ himself. But then the two witnesses were supposedly Elijah and well, Enoch and Elijah, and Moses. But then wasn't Elijah a Christ-like figure? And then wasn't Moses a Christ-like figure? Like, weren't all these men, and this is how I see it, weren't all these men that were either, because Moses, he had Aaron with him, so that represents two witnesses. But see, it's witnessing to God. It's witnessing to the Michael spirit, the Christ spirit. You have two, when you have Aaron and Moses walking around. Oh man, let me just say this part here, right? That part there, coming that close to scraping the truck, and then going over here where, well, we'll see how it works when we get up to the red light. But the thing is, there's so much space in between that people feel magnetized to have to fill up the space. It's just the way it is. Patience, man. Oh, if I remember, there's a little story I have yesterday that happened that confirms the stop sign situation. But see, here's what I'm saying. And then you get stuck right there in the middle of the road, and then you're blocking that traffic that's going that way. Whatever. So what Aaron and Moses were doing was they were witnessing to Christ, the Holy Spirit, God the Father. They were witnessing to God, the one that created everybody. I wish people would just say God, but then they have to, because it's annoying a little bit, kind of. The Elohim, the Yahamalak Shamalak, the Mishiach. It's just like, isn't it just God? My entire life, when I talk about God, I always thought of God as the force that was able to create our flesh and our bones. And then because you have people like Kleck telling you that Lucifer created our flesh and bones. I mean, I understand where he's coming from with that, because our flesh and our bones is purely evil from the time we're born, and it will always be evil from the time we die. The difference is our spirit is made up of one or the other. But when the Lord God formed man and said, "Let us make man in our image," well, when Lucifer's forming man's mind, that's what that's talking about. So I've always looked at God as the one that created me. That's it. That was who God was, the one that created the actual things that you can see with your eyes. We create things that you can't see with your eyes. We create our feelings, our life, everything in it, we created. You want to get somebody to hold the door for you? Here's it. This is the most simplest way to, if you want to get a person to open the door for you, you know, like Wawa, open the door for them. 10 times out of 10, they're going to open up the next door for you. It's just, it's like I know, it's a thing. Try it. Watch. I bet you it'll work. So back to the witnesses, they're going to play it out, right? So they're playing out different dispositions of what you're going to believe. That's why Trump has to have, because even though they know what the truth is, they're going to play that part out. So there's going to be a 3.5 day period where Trump can't be found, and or Netanyahu is put in jail because they're trying to get rid of him too. And I felt this theme a while back, saying that Trump and Netanyahu are playing two witnesses as one of the dispositions I understood. And then here they are now, they're doing it. But then there's also two witnesses in the trial with Trump. I forgot their names, but at the very beginning it showed two witnesses. So they're going to let you know that those two witnesses, they're going to be dead in the middle of the street somewhere for 3.5 days, while Trump disappeared for 3.5 days. So they're going to get you with the belief of whether it's imprisoned, whether it's disappearing, falling into the river, the water somewhere, your airplane dropping from the sky. Maybe Jonah swallowed him up for 3 days. I don't know. Maybe not. Or he disappeared somewhere, and he'll tell you that he didn't have phone reception when his plane crashed, and or they'll put you in jail. Netanyahu will be put in jail. So it's like they cover all angles, is what I'm trying to tell you, with what you believe, what the person next to you believes, what the person behind you believes. If all three of you believe a different disposition of the Bible with that verse, perfect. They got all three of you. They got you to believe this part, they got you to believe that, and they got you to believe that. But if you're part of the fourth kingdom and you just know better, you're not going to believe shit. You're going to know better. That's the kingdom that's almost fully taken over. Before I forget, when I did the video yesterday talking about stop sign, if you're used to coasting through the stop sign and you decide to start stopping at the sign, just stop for, I mean, literally 1 Mississippi. This is if you're that person. I'm trying to help you. Instead of going through the stop sign, stop completely, take a second, all right? If you feel in your chest, this is a way to gauge it. If you feel in your chest a certain feeling, then with that split second, and the feeling is it's almost like a pulse, like a jolt. If you get a jolt because you're so used to going through, and you stop and you feel like you might be taking up too much time, and that hairy demon's like pushing you, then you need to work on your patience and you need to slow down more. You need to use that little trick, stop sign trick, and then go through. Because what the feeling is, it's like it's literally peer pressure. This is what I'm telling you. It's peer pressure. But it's not peer pressure from any person. It's spirit pressure. Spirit pressure. Spirits pressure you to do things that you don't want to do, that you shouldn't do, but you ought to do. So when a hairy demon harries you up through the stop sign, stop. Especially when a car's behind you. This is the test. This is a real test. Stop for a second, maybe even two, just to like really stop, because you know that the person behind you has. The 9 out of 10 people do not stop at stop signs all the way. 9 out of 10, 99 out of 100, most likely. I think it's the same thing. Yeah, it is. Because that's like 900 out of 1,000. Well, no, it's like 909. Well, whatever. The point is, if you feel that feeling inside, you're going to, it's going to be uneasy. And again, it's just a simple second test, maybe 2 seconds tops, with somebody behind you, knowing that people are very impatient. In all likelihood, you'll probably get a beep here and there. The best thing to do is try to go for a beep. Try to get a beep going. Then you know that it's true. Like, if you stop for 2 seconds at just anywhere, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna try it now that I thought of it. I'm gonna stop for 2 seconds at a busy stop sign or when there's more traffic going by, just to see if I can take the pulse of the person behind me, to see how impatient people really are. And then do a poll, like go to every stop sign, have a car behind you, stop a second too. You know, look both ways. And here's why I know that I needed to do that yesterday. Because right around the corner from my house, I was coming to a stop sign. There was an older lady and like a 2-year-old standing right there where the stop sign. I didn't know if they were trying to cross or what. I came rolling up to the stop sign. Now, this was yesterday, like, I don't know. Who knows? Later on in the day, after the video I made. As I was coming up to the stop sign, I had this little 2-year-old watching me. Mind you, these are brand new eyeballs, and he's watching my truck stop, come to a complete stop. He's literally pointing at my truck to his grandmom, like, and then she's like, yeah, because I stopped all the way, and then I drove. I was literally being evaluated by a 2-year-old to make sure that I stopped at that stop sign. You know, these are the things that Jonathan Vargo Kleck will make up. He'll make these stories up and say you can't even think this stuff up, when that's all that he does is think shit up, and he will literally tell you. Once I can't remember my lies. Literally is what he said. I can't remember my lies, but it sounded like he said lines. But if he can't remember his lines, what is he reading, a script? He said lies. Anybody out there that believes him? Man, if you believe him, just that he's telling the truth, I don't want to insult you, but just think about what you might be if you believe Jonathan Vargo Kleck after at least being on this channel. I mean, because I believed him at one point too, so I can't really insult people that believe him. I was a little iffy. He always sounded more like a feminine person to me, and I just thought, well, a lot of people do, and it doesn't mean anything. It just means that's how they talk. Yeah, really? That might be different. Might be the case. Might not be. But he always sounded a little bit more feminine, like he's allowing the woman spirit, the female spirit, to take over his vessel. That's all he's doing. We all have the feminine and the masculine spirit in us. It's just what one do you use at specific times, and which ones do you use to, and then not to cross the line. Like, don't cross the line using the feminine spirit up to this point. Just don't cross the line. And likewise with women. So yeah, yesterday was a day of me realizing that it's time to slow down. It's just time to slow down. I'm not a speedy person, but on the inside you can get speedy. And it just, who doesn't feel better when you're calm? What do you think they make Xanax for? And Valiums and wine to calm down. But when you can do that without that's the golden ticket right there. Learning how to be calm without having to take anything. So there's this 3.5 day period is coming up. I can feel it. You got people talking about it. You got the world playing out the script. And you got December 9th coming up. 100% no lying. December 9th. 100 days from August 31st, 2019. Jonathan Vargo collects envelope that started the 100-day countdown to getting rid of the lying of the tribe of Judah, taking away all truth. But I remember being threatened that I was going to go to jail. I was going to get locked up. I was going to get sued for defecating on Steve's character. Never happened, but that was one reason of how to try to silence me and use an excuse to get me off of YouTube. That was one of the plans to do that. Now Steve doesn't even have to do that, because when the second 9/11 happens in Philadelphia, I can get locked up then, and then I'll get favor with the prison guards for like 3.5 days, and then they'll let me out, or I'll get bailed out, or I don't know, maybe I won't, because that's going to be a high bail, huh? Being accused of being a terrorist and setting up the second 9/11. It's going to be a high-ass bail. Maybe I'll get ROR and sign myself out. But my whole point is, now Steve doesn't have to try to play that role with me to try to shut me up. All he got to do is just send the missiles over there, the missile images, and set up the bombs and blow up the buildings like I said they would. And then they can try to charge me with it. But how? I mean, how are you gonna do that? I mean, you can, but it can't stick. It just can't stick. Because I have all types of witnesses in the CIA, and NSA or FBI watching because right now, because you know that when you surveil somebody, you know where they go, you know who they talk to, you know who they're connected to, and you know who they're not connected to. Therefore, you know that. How did I get the information? I took a guess. I'm guessing. It's just a guess, everybody. Relax. I love how people hate predictions. I love predictions. I love predictions. I love when people interpret the Bible their private way, when they're not being deceitful, but everybody has their own private interpretation. If you're trying to deceive people with it, then that's where the problem lies. But when it's just you're trying to think what it means, this is why I appreciate everybody, including the ones that are super delusional, and they look at everything literal. Then I'll get their interpretation. And then it's one little piece. Because here's what you do. You take all the pieces of every single possible interpretation of the Bible with that verse. Like being fastened as a nail in a sure place. What do you think that means? When God is using his prophet Eliakim, I believe he is, to fasten him surely securely, like in a sure place. Knowing, and then on the same token, at the beginning of the Valley of Vision, the Vision of Valley that's going to fail coming up 2020, January 1st, 2020, the beginning of their vision that they think they're going to start off with, the 3 days of darkness with dropping bombs everywhere. All right, it's fine. You can do that. However, just know this: 45 days. 45 days, and silencing for the first 21. You get 21 days of silence. Then you have, at that time, that's when Michael stands up. You know why? Because here's the deal. 21 days of being withstood is, well, that's the plan. That happens first. 21 days. Who knows? Maybe it'll just shut me up, and you won't ever know, or nobody will even know except for the people that. But then you know, maybe I'm thinking too far into it, huh? Like I'm actually something that matters in this world by exposing the entire world script. I mean, it does. I know how it is now. It's like right now, you didn't expose anything, Robin. You know, you got lucky on a few things here and there. It's whatever. It's everything continues as it is. I know, because I didn't graduate yet. But just wait until graduation happens. We'll have fun. We will. Because then, here's how that happens. When I graduate and get shut down at the same time, graduation is like a silencing. Go away, right? And then you're gonna have 3 days. This 3-day. See, here's the thing, man. That's what it is. The fake 6th seal happens, and then there's like 3.5 days, and then there's more time after that, and I think 21 days starts. It might be in the next 21 days, but the real day of the Lord, it comes with when that 6th seal is truly opened up. Man, people that don't know how to drive. When the 6th seal is opened up, and it's 3.5 days later, comes the tap on the shoulder, and that's it. Lights out, because lights are out, even though the light bulb turns on. When the lights go out completely, when God's wrath, the 7 bowls of wrath, whichever days they are, 7 of them. 7 bowls of wrath, one day after another, after another, after another. I feel like that's from the 14th to the 21st of January. I'm just saying. 7 days of the bowls of wrath. I feel like that's what it is, because I feel like 21 days of shutdown is from December 9th into the 10th, going to New Year's Eve morning. That's exactly 21 days. Then it's just going to be a silencing of some truth channels. The entire world's not going to have a clue. Then you got bombs dropping. You got the EMP surge at New Year's Day, because I don't see, and I'm thinking of it more, I don't see the war happening before New Year's Eve, because they have to drop the ball. Everybody has to go to, because we're going to start off the year all brand new. Yeah, because even with Christmas, they're going to pretend that the rapture should happen. They're going to pretend and push the wrapping gifts. 3.5 days exchanging gifts to one another. They're going to pretend that it should happen then, and it won't. Because like they do, and I always jump the gun and think, all right, they're going to do it now, they're going to do it now. And then they do the spiritual thing, and then like a certain amount of time later, they actually do the event that I'm thinking of. So that's what I've learned. So December 9th and 10th through the 11th, it's definitely the shutdown, the beginning of the 30-day decree. All right? Daniel, he prayed 3 times a day. When he knew the decree was signed, and then he prayed 3 times a day. 3 times 1 day is 3 days. 3 times a day he prayed, 3 times a day. Have we met, Madonna? You like drinking urine? Have we met, Philadelphia? Sold out because you're a sellout. 7 through to 8. Everybody's a sellout. When Daniel knew that the writing was signed, there's a signing December 9th into the 10th. Truth, no more. From the 9th to the 10th to the 11th to the 12th, which is 3 days, which is 3 times a day. Daniel knew the writing was on the wall, so he continued to pray. 30-day decree. What did they do? Threw him in the lion's den right away. Within those 3 days, Daniel was thrown in the lion's den, which ties in perfectly with the second 9/11 happening right here in Philadelphia. Right here in Philadelphia on December 11th. Because shutting down Batcat on Monday, December 9th, which is exactly 100 days of Jonathan Vargo Kleck's timeline, getting rid of the truth on YouTube. With it being 100 days, and also with it being a shutdown of the YouTube commercial viability thing, have we met? Not yet. Not yet. But we will. So he prayed 3 times a day. He knew the writing was signed. And at the same time, those 3 days that he knew, once he was thrown in a lion's den, well, he shut the lion's mouth because, well, he showed the truth of the matter. But see, there's also 21 days that starts at that same time of the truth shutting down. But the 3 days is tied into it. And then so is the 3 days tied into the last 21. 3 days is tied into the first 21 days. The other 3 days is tied into the tail end of the 21 days, which makes it 45 days altogether. So 21 days until New Year's Eve, and then 21 days until the 21st, and then 3 days of darkness, the sun goes down and rises back up on the 24th of January. That's how I see it so far.